Okay, so now, let's say private organizations will look at it that since you say it's corporate social responsibility, I'm a private organization. Am I supposed to actually, participate in initiatives or programs like CSR?
Yeah, I think it's it's something we're trying to correct, because you see, in essence, when you say corporate social responsibility, people think it has to be all the big companies, in the world, but it's a concept, and that's why if you go from organization to organization, some people call it corporate social responsibility, some people call it responsible business. People have given it all sort of names to make it comfortable for them to participate. And it has nothing to do with what the size. It's more about the concept. And it might interest you to also understand that, in Nigeria, for example, 70% of the workforce is actually employed by the small and medium scale enterprises or entrepreneurs. And right now, what we're also driving is getting those people to also understand that, if they have 70% of all of these people working for them and are generating perhaps maybe 50% of what goes on in the economy, they also should be active players. And so many of them are coming into play. Because at the end of the day, what keeps the small and medium scale businesses out of issues of CSR is that they look at the big companies and you see how much those companies declare that they spend on CSR, and you think, this is a no-go for me. But what we are getting them to understand is not about the size of the expenditure. You can actually spend ₦1 million a year on CSR if that's what you can spend, and put together a program that is able to impact society or impact your media environment that the person who spends all those multitude of millions might not be able to achieve. And there's this concept also in the CSR world where companies see CSR as promotion. So every time they spend ₦1 million to give blind people a restore site, they spend ₦10 million to popularize it and drive it in the media. And of course, these things have the drawback. But what we are trying to get, everybody ought to be a player, because in the end, CSR represents an opportunity for us to partner with government to drive development. Because those days people used to think it was the function of government, development, and everything had to do with government. But that concept has changed, because today, if you look around us, the most success, the elements of success or factors that show, or organizations that show any bit of success that can inspire, are found in the private sector. And even the United Nations did understand when they introduced the private-public partnership that, public sector may have failed because of all the problems, whether corruption, all the things that the factor to find there. But in those same societies where public sector have failed, they found out that the private sector still function and are declaring profit based purely on business models that have worked. So what even the United Nations promotes is that, let's get the element of government because they have size. And the bureaucracy. And let's get the element of the private sector because they have strategy, they can measure, and they can impact invest, and bring them together to be able to drive development in third world, in countries like Nigeria.
Emerging markets, So if the private companies are actually, taking the CSR very, very seriously, should the government as well do the same thing?
Well, in the first place, the reason why you have government is social responsibility. So I don't think we need to define. I don't think we need to get to the point where we need to define what is social the responsibility of government. The reason why you are elected in the first place is to carry that out. But I think why it's more tilted towards the aspect of the corporate is because it's reached that point where the world is trying to make business leaders understand that if you declare the billions of profit every year, and you have a water fountain that beautifies the front of your office, and everybody driving past there are wowing at the effect of how the water fountain, and just right across the fence on the other side is a school housing 1,000 children, have no access to drinking water. Should you be doing something with the water you're using for fountain displays? Those are the kind of things. Should you have a road network just around you that serves your business, and all the trucks and everything come to serve your business, serve your interest needs, your profit needs, and just people don't have access to their houses? Should you be waiting for government? Is there a way you can initiate a process that perhaps maybe government can also look into later and say, okay, out of maybe some kind of little embarrass, okay, what, we will partner with you to do this. I think we need to move from that concept of everything being for government and looking at it, whether we are corporate or individuals, how we can be part of change in our society.
Well, I'm guessing that's one of the challenges that actually face CSR. But we're going to look at that in just a moment. Let's take a quick break now on the program. And when we come back, we're still looking at corporate social responsibility and how the economy can actually grow through this singular concept. And I have here with me PR consultant Ken Egbas. We'll be back in just a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television, and we're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. On the program today, we're focusing our conversation on corporate social responsibility and how this concept can help grow the economy. And I have here with me in the studios a PR consultant, Ken Egbas, and that's what we're looking at in the last couple of minutes. So he's still here with me. Thank you so much, Ken, for sticking around. Well, just before we went on that short break, we talked about how a lot of people, how government has its own social responsibility of providing infrastructure and basic amenities and the likes of it. And there have actually been some companies that have put forward this argument that since I pay taxes as a corporate organization to the government, I'm not totally inclined to, doing any CSR program or initiative of any kind. Let the government do it since I pay taxes. Yeah,
that argument has been on for a very long time. It's been I know that the 1945 definition by a gentleman, an economist of note who is no longer alive, Milton Friedman. And in 1945 he made a statement that the basic responsibility of business is to its shareholders, to make profit for its shareholders. And in 2012-13, you still have business leaders holding onto that definition that was first used in 1945. But you see, the economic variables of 1945 are different from what we have today. And, then when you talk about also the part of shareholders, now shareholders are a group of people who have a stake in a business. But you see, today we don't talk about shareholders in isolation anymore. As a matter of fact, the shareholders have been subsumed into a larger group called the stakeholders. The stakeholders are the communities in general, the law enforcement agencies, the regulators, the NGOs, every single person or element of society that the activities of the business touches upon. So when you look at all of this, you come to the second argument and said, okay, if society fails, who is responsible? Is it government? Is it corporate? Or is it everybody? I think the answer will be everybody. Because government and society, government and everybody make up the society. Now, should we say that because we pay our taxes to government, right, and government is not playing the role that it should play, like we expect it to play, owing to factors that all of us are aware of, then we should let society fail. Now, if we say, well, to hell with society, let it fail, it's not our responsibility. Now, if the society does fail, the question again is, will business have an environment to do business? So there wouldn't be. So I don't think that argument that we pay our taxes to government, is something that we should hold on to. The question is, when we have a situation like we do, what kind of initiative, what kind of role playing should we lead that can draw the attention of government to what we do, so that government can perhaps be awoken from its present slumber and perhaps be able to see the role it should play in driving society. Okay, government has failed, then should we fail? I don't think so. Then the other element we really need to look at is that across the world, General Electric, for example, if General Electric was a company, in the world. It will have, I think, the 5th largest gross domestic profit. So what that shows is that companies don't just exist on that level where we're making profit, but companies have also grown over the years from just companies to economies. Now, if you have grown to that level of economy, what do you do when you declare that you make $100 billion a year in the same environment where some government, state government don't even have that much for a year? So it means that with that level of prosperity comes some level of responsibility that you must take. I mean, if you look at our African society, for example, if you come and you're well off, I mean, there's just that natural tendency or propensity, even when you don't will to just be able to take some responsibility for some things around you. It's the same concept. So that argument is for me, is a moribund one. And I think when you look at it deep, and that's why I'm excited that organizations are actually getting to understand it. That, because why they had the argument, we pay our taxes, it's because they just look, it's the function of government. But now the organizations are beginning to understand that. Last year we did something to provide water to children in the community, and because we did that, maternal mortality dropped by perhaps this XY%. We had more children in schools. We had less disease in the environment, and from this same environment, we're actually able to employ healthier people. So they are beginning to connect the impact of their investment to their own ability to function.